I'm coming home, baby. I'm coming home, baby. I'm coming home, baby, now. I'm coming home now, right away. I'm coming home, baby, now. I'm sorry now I ever went away. Every night and day I go and say, I'm coming home. I'm coming home, baby, now.
Welcome to Piedmont Housing Alliance's series of discussions on building dreams and creating wealth. My name is Karen Reifenberger, and I'll be moderating our discussion today. Piedmont Housing Alliance produces this series of shows on topics related to our mission. PHA is a regional nonprofit organization with a mission to create housing and community development for very low to moderate income families and individuals, teach financial literacy and money management, home buying and home ownership skills, and advocate for affordable housing programs and policies. Today's discussion is budgeting for seniors, and we're going to be talking about budgeting basics, how to stretch your dollars with tips for discounts and savings. And we'll also be talking about how to navigate healthcare costs and keep costs lower there. And also, importantly, how to protect your credit and your identity. And I'm pleased today to be joined by experts from Jefferson Area Board for Aging, JABA, and also Piedmont Housing Alliance. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So today we have Sally Mank with JABA, Lindell Chavez with JABA, and Shelley Murphy with Piedmont Housing Alliance. Thank you. Tell us about your organization and your role in helping seniors with budgeting and money management. Lindell.
Well, I work in the area of Medicare counseling, helping people find the lowest cost ways to get their medical care covered, including prescription drugs. What I'm going to be talking about later on is things like the Medicare Part D program and the extra help that people with limited incomes can get to lower their prescription costs, and I'll tell you about how to sign up for all those kinds of things. So that's just one little piece of what JABA does, but it's a real important piece because we focus on helping people with anything that has to do with Medicare, Medicaid, and the prescription programs that are out there.
Absolutely, great. Tremendously important for health, but also for a household budget.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Lindell.
Okay, I work with financial wellness, and I talk to people about how to protect themselves from frauds and scams. I can help them set up a budget or balance their checkbook. Pretty much anything involving financial I can help them with.
Great. And Shelley.
Well, I'm with Piedmont Housing Alliance, and we have a department called Program Services. We provide one-on-one counseling, which could also link with the basic budgeting, you know, and overall financial wellness, as well as helping them to recognize, you know, if there's fraud or being scam, what scams are going around and things like that. So we promote a lot of educational seminars for the public to come in as well. And it's open to everyone, you know.
And Shelley, I know that you've done financial literacy for children as young as six, all the way up.
To 95.
To 95, great.
Yes.
And that learning to budget and manage money is important for all of us. But I want to explore why this is such a uniquely important issue for seniors and for all of us as we age.
Yeah, I think it's especially important for seniors because typically by that time you're on a fixed income. You may have medical issues and prescriptions, and all of that can be so costly. And then you throw in maybe some home repairs if you still own your home.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. And a lot of times it could be situations where someone else is handling their money and they're not quite sure totally what's going on because someone has kind of taken that responsibility away from them. So we would like to encourage people, if they're able, that they stay involved even though they might have someone that's handling that. So they still have a basic understanding. And we've had some clients that come to our classes and they have someone paying. And we would go through their credit report just to have basic knowledge of, you still need to know. You might not be working and you might be on a fixed income, but you need to know what money is coming in and what money is going out and what bills are being paid on your behalf. So there's some sense of independence still happening within, themselves, to understand their budgeting. And if they want to buy something, do they have to budget for it? Yes. Or can they just go spend it? Yeah. So I think there's important factors facing our seniors, and I've shared earlier that, my mother lives with me and she's 80 years old. She totally handles all of her finances. And so I'm watching that, because that's going to be me one day. Mm-hmm. I need to make sure I understand what's coming in and what has to go out. So, I think the opportunity to share information and to have dialogue and communication, if it's in a class or a group or a social setting or whatever, to talk about, oh, this is how I can save money, or this is what I've done, or, why don't you go over to that class at Job, or go see Lindale, or go to PHA, or something like that. So I think there's great opportunities for people to get more information.
So tell us what you would do, how you would walk someone through budgeting basics, Shelley or Lindale. And, what would you do to get them to understand the budget and get to the place they need to be? And how are those things different, or what's unique when you're working with a senior?
I could start it. Sure. Okay. Sure. Well, first of all, you definitely have to know how much money is coming in so you know what you're working with. And then the next step is...
And what are some sources that people may have?
They may be retirement or Social Security. They may be on Medicare, Medicaid. They might even have investments where they're getting money, or annuities, or trusts, right?
Annuities.
So you have your income, and then the next step, you need to know what are your expenses. And you're going to have your fixed expenses that are going to remain the same every month. But then you're going to have the variable ones that could change. And you have to, it's hard, but you have to set aside money for emergencies. You need to squeeze a little bit in there for savings.
That does help. That does help. Yeah. And I agree with Lindale. One of the things that we do in our classes is start off with just what's coming in. Just exactly the way you're saying it. But we have them write it down, and I'm sure you do as well. But what's coming in, and then what has to go out, as she spoke of the fixed expenses, and then what's variable. What is going to change? Your food's going to change. Your income might change. It might be fixed, but there could be some changes that happen within that, and it might be changes because of some program or something. So I think the biggest critical thing is to know what is coming in and what has to go out, and that people can see it in black and white in front of them.
And do you use a form for that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. A very simple form, and even if it's a simple ledger, there's a lot of fancy forms we all use, and I'm sure we both have them, but the simple ledger works just as good, where you got money in, and then you got the 2 columns to say what's going out and when did it go out. A lot of times we walk people through basic, budgeting, how to set up a budget, and we say, who do you owe? How much do you owe? What's the monthly payment? When is the payment due? What's the balance? And they have a column where they can check off that it's been paid. I personally have been through an experience where I've paid a bill twice because I didn't write it down or I didn't check it off. And I used a plain old ledger system, even doing all these classes. I have a regular, each month I have a sheet, and it's an in and out. And everything is listed already there and write it out. So I know if I didn't pay it, because it's not going to happen again that I paid 2 car notes. It's just, it can't happen again. That was too much money and it hurt and it was unplanned. So that experience taught me even more. Well, people probably go through the same thing, but I paid the bill 2 times, which was a disruption in the flow of how the money went. So, and I'm sure there's other things we can do, that you could share that we do. But the chart is probably the easiest way and the most basic and the safe way. A lot of people have programs that are on the internet. You do. and they're great if you can manage that on the internet. And I'm the weak one. I'm not that great, even though I do a lot of work on the internet, but the budget, I tend to stay strictly with the pen and pencil or the paper, you know, to write in what's coming in or what's got to go out. So
Go ahead.
I use an internet one. It was actually created by a lady in Canada. It's what I like about it. It's color coded, and it lists everything, including pet expenses, because pets, you know, they are expensive too.
Sure.
And so on this side, you enter in everything, all of your expenses, and then over on this side, it's the buckets where all of the money goes in. You can see your ratios.
Yes.
What percentage of all of your money is your housing and
Credit
medical,
union does that.
all of
That's
that.
really useful.
And it really helps. Anybody can use it, because when you're looking over here and you see this large amount, it's color coded. So then you look over here and all of the colors that are that color went in there.
Right.
And at the bottom, of course, it's going to show you if you're in the red
Or if you're-
you're doing good. It's a space also for set aside money for emergencies and savings. And most
And
people
so that
like
would
it.
allow someone to go in and say, well, what would happen if I cut this a little bit here and that a little bit there? And if they were trying to save towards something that they needed, they could try to plan that out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know what that's called? And if
Well,
not, I
I
know we
can
can put
tell
it on
you
the
one.
screen afterwards.
UVA Credit Union has that system. Rebecca told us on a previous show that we talked about on the Earned Income Tax Credit Program. And so members of the credit union, if their accounts are there, it comes out with those percentages, and it's in a pie chart and it's color coded, and it tells you where your money's going if you're spending too much, and it's, you know, you can see if it's uncoded. So it's like, okay, that means I really spent it on something I didn't need.
Yes.
You know, but yeah, they had a program and she explained that to us, and theirs is Financial Works is what it's called at UVA Credit Union. So I don't know which one yours is.
This one is building a better budget.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I don't have the site, but if anyone wanted to contact
We
me
can
at
get it.
Java, I'd be more
Yeah.
than happy to give them the information.
A great resource.
Great. And do you find when people come in, they can write down their income or expenses, or do you find that they need to actually track that over the month to find out where it's going?
Some things they can write down, but then as you get to talking, and you know, then they'll be like, oh yeah. So it's not something that people carry around in their head, or you know, all of it.
That's why I think it's really good that when we work with people at the onset, we sit down and we write up that chart. This is everything that you need, that, you know, the fixed incomes, the variable ones or the flexible ones and things like that, and be able to keep track of that. And I think it should be, it's an ongoing thing. It should not be looked at just once a month. It needs to be checked on a, you know, maybe once a week or something, if not more than that. I know I check my accounts at least once or twice a week because I'm looking for something, because sometimes if I mail a check to somebody, it might be a month before they cash a check, and I'm thinking I missed something, you know, because it's not there and I can't check it off my list that I paid it yet. And so I think the easiest way is to keep writing those things down and have it in front of you, even if it's a chart that you just look at, and, you know, you have to make it each month separate. That's great too. Whatever that person needs to help them keep track of their finances.
And don't you think that's especially important now that people are starting to pay more of their recurring kind of expenses online?
Yes.
Like utility
Yes.
bills. I mean, I won't do it because I want to write the check because I want somewhere to record exactly how much it was this month, because my electric bill and my water bill and things like that vary. So I think it's you're keeping a record of every payment you make is really important for people who are using some kind of blended system and maybe writing checks for some things and writing and using online payments for their utilities.
Do you think that seniors, and I'm going to say seniors 55 and older or 62 and older, which one?
55.
55 and older. I am a proud senior.
Me too.
I am a proud senior. Do you think that more seniors are using the online banking system? Are you seeing that with the clients that you're working with, or I'm not seeing it in the ones that come to PHA.
It's amazing how many are.
Okay, great.
You know, especially, one says 55 to maybe 62
Okay.
The younger.
in there.
Uh-huh.
It's
But
amazing.
what
how
about
many.
over 62 or 65 and older?
There are some.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
computer savvy, and
Yeah.
they like it, you know.
Because that was something that comes to mind is that if that's an option, then we need to make sure there's the basic computer skills there as well,
Yes.
which is another class that should be included if they're going to go that route, if they have access to the internet, and that's the way they choose to look at how they're going to keep their finances. Because if not, we got to go back to that basic piece of paper and that chart, because we can replicate those by a photocopier.
Sure.
You know, and things like that.
And explain a little bit about JABA's and PHA's services. How, if a senior is interested in getting some counseling on financial wellness, financial literacy, what steps would they need to take, and who's eligible?
Well, for Piedmont Housing Alliance, all people need to do is make that telephone call. 817-2436 if they would like to register for a class or sign up to meet with someone on a one-on-one basis that will do those basic tasks that Lindell and I do, which we do the groups and one-on-one. And so it's very easy, and I think your system is the same way. It's
yes.
just make that telephone call. If you need help, the resources are there, they're free, you know, and tell them it doesn't matter if you own your home or if you're in a rental, it doesn't matter. Those services are available to anyone that's in our service area.
And same with JABA, just dial 817-5254.
Yeah.
Services are free, and in fact, we concentrate on 55 and older,
Sure.
but if you are younger, we're not going to turn you away.
You just refer them to PHA.
You know it.
You just refer them to PHA.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what types of group classes are available? What are some of the topics, and what's the curriculum for that?
Some of the topics for Piedmont Housing Alliance is Money Matters, basic, setting up a budget, knowing about just exactly what we're talking about, knowing what money you have coming in, what money's going out. We also have classes on identity theft and how to avoid predatory lending. We educate on fair housing issues to make sure people are aware of their housing rights. And we also look at, if they're homeowners, you know, about preventing foreclosure or becoming in default. And also just basic information, consumer information things. Do you know, the scam alert type things and how to avoid this, and, not just the budget, but also how to maintain that budget and what happens if something disrupts. If there's an emergency or some change in your income or a loss of a family member that was part of the income. What do you do? What resources are available? So we tend to also be a hub to refer people to JABA or to other agencies that provide services based on that client's needs.
I do presentations. I typically go out and visit like social services departments or senior centers, or if you have a particular group that you belong to, and there's a subject matter that you would like information on, I'll go and do that. Talk to people about reverse mortgages and getting loan modifications. There's been a little success since I've been with JABA. One lady's loan modification lowered her monthly payment by $100, and she was really
Wonderful.
happy. Then I had another lady that completed a reverse mortgage, and she was really happy.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so we're just there to provide the information that anyone needs.
And
So
you've
both
just been
agencies.
certified as a reverse mortgage
Yes,
counselor.
you did.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You are a HECM counselor.
Yeah.
HECM is Home Equity Conversion Mortgage.
Right.
Yeah,
And for people who don't know, can you tell what that is?
Reverse mortgage?
Yes.
Well, you have to be at least 62 years old, and you must be a homeowner, and the home has to be your primary residence. You do not have to live in that home 12 months out of the year, but you do need to live there the majority of the year, like 7 months. If it's more than one borrower, the youngest borrower's age is the one that everything is based on as far as how much money you qualify for. One good thing about a reverse mortgage is if you currently are making a mortgage payment, you qualify for a reverse mortgage, then the reverse mortgage lender will pay off that mortgage for you, and that money that you were sending off to a lender, you can keep in your pocket.
So basically, you're borrowing on the equity that you have in the house.
Exactly.
And you need to have a lot of equity.
Yes, because at 62, even though you qualify, you're just right there. The older you are, and HUD and FHA, of course, when they designed the program, they based it on nobody's going to live past age 100.
Right.
So, and I always love to tell people, though, if you live past 100, you get extra money. But everything is calculated on your age that you are now to age 100.
So the benefits of a reverse mortgage is?
You do not have to make any mortgage payment anymore. The money is not taxable either. You can use it for, the smart way to use it is to, one of the ways anyways, to have a line of credit, because your line of credit grows. We don't say it earns interest or anything like that, but it grows. So whatever your interest rate that's being charged on your reverse mortgage, your line of credit is growing by that plus 0.5%.
So there's advantages to it, and there's a lot of controversy also about it.
Because it's not for everybody.
Correct. It doesn't fit everyone. Piedmont Housing Alliance used to do reverse mortgage counseling up until October 2009, and we have to go get recertified. But it's an excellent program that fits the person that meets all those guidelines. And I'm going to give an example. One of our clients was a couple. The wife got sick and had to go into a nursing home, and they were in their late 80s. So they had a lot of equity in their house. So the mortgage was very low compared to whatever the market value was or the appraised value. And so the cost of her care, because they were trying to keep her home and needed people to come in, was about $3,000 a month. And so they looked at the option of a reverse mortgage, and so that equity, that mortgage, turning it around was what provided the $3,000 a month that allowed her to stay home, and the caregivers came in and took care, and it didn't disrupt anything else that was going on in the house. That, to me, would be one of the ideal situations.
Definitely.
You know, it freed up the family because the family was having to take off to go take care, but by, you know, allowing to pay someone to come in and make sure their mother was okay, you know, that just was a breath of fresh air that helped the family overall. And then the kids took care of her on the weekend, so they had a caregiver during the week. So I thought that was a great scenario. And another thing was additional income. If there was an option that, you know, they needed additional income, they had all this mortgage, you know, equity in their home, which is the difference of what's owed in the market. They had a lot of that, and they needed additional income because of the changes that was happening. Might have been prescription, you know, increase, whatever. They needed additional couple $100s a month. So they were able to turn that back around and have that money come in so they could still stay at the level that they were living at, the standard, you know, and not go get a loan or get to a lender that had a high interest rate type situation. So I think there's a lot of benefit to reverse mortgage if the senior fits that category.
Exactly.
If not, it's not a good option.
Right. But it is important to know it's not free money.
It's not free money. No, they're going to pay.
They'll
Have to be paid back.
They're going to pay it back.
and it may not be them, it may be
Their heirs.
Their heirs, right?
Well, it'll be the house.
The house.
The house
Right,
pays it.
right.
It's not the heirs. It's that house.
The house.
That loan is now the bank's loan, and so it'll get settled at the end.
And the one good thing about a reverse mortgage is that mortgage insurance, it's non-recourse. So
Yes.
even though, let's say at the time the house needs to be sold, you owe, say, $200,000, but because of the market, you can only sell the house for $175,000. If your heirs or whoever is taking care of your affairs decide to sell the house, then they only have to repay, they only have to repay what the house sells for. But on the other hand, if your heirs want to keep the house, they're going to have to pay the full amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the message here is if you have a lot of equity and your mortgage is low, you need to contact, Lindale to get those specifics, because it also is required that they have counseling.
Definitely.
One-on-one counseling.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
The one thing I really like about the reverse mortgage is it's totally designed by HUD and FHA to protect the senior homeowner.
Yes. The required counseling is magnificent.
Yes.
It wasn't always like that.
Yeah,
It
great.
wasn't always like that. So, but it's a good program.
And now might be a good time, Shelley. I know this is something you've mentioned before about making sure that you protect yourself in terms of your financial decisions and not let others take advantage of your situation.
Well, I think Lindell and I and Sally as well all agree that sometimes you need to bring somebody with you when there's difficult
Yes.
decisions that have to be
Right.
made. Just following up on the reverse mortgage, we would not see that individual alone. We always had them either bring a family member or their minister or someone that they trusted to help make that decision. It's a lot of information for the different programs that we do. If it's just basic money management or paying your bills or doing the reverse mortgage, or they have to make some decisions. And a lot of times when we're in these one-on-one situations, I realize that's a lot of information. That's going to be overload, and how much of it are they really getting? And it's not that they don't understand or something like that. It's just a lot of information, and there's a lot of parts to whatever information we're trying to help them do. So a lot of times, the fear of making sure they're not being scammed, and a lot of times the scammer is not knocking on the door, it's not online, might not be on the phone, it might be right in your house. So you need to understand that when you have to make life decisions regarding your finances, sometimes you need to include the family, and sometimes you need an outside person to join in to help with those decisions. Because just like you said, HUD and FHA, how they design reverse mortgages, when we're teaching these classes, we're giving the tips to say, watch for the red flags. And it could be a family member, it could be whoever, the person knocking on the door, and they don't have their best interest at heart. And so our goal when we're teaching these classes or meeting one-on-one in these counseling situations is to make sure it's what that individual wants and what fits within their needs and not anything over that. So not giving out Social Security numbers would be a number one that I would recognize, not just for seniors, for anyone. You don't give your Social Security number out to anybody except your employer. Now, if you're applying for credit and you want credit from a particular store and they want that Social Security number, if you want that credit, you have to give it. Other than that, you don't need it. You only have to give your Social Security number to your employer, basically, who has to report to the government. And so there's things, a lot of times, the telephone calls coming in, and we're trying to sell you something, or security alert. And if it's people that are on the internet, you're getting these emails that look just like the bank, and it's got the last 4 numbers of your account on there, so you think it's real. None of your banks, this is a message out to the public, your bank is not going to email you and tell you there's a security alert. They do not do that. So it is a scam. And what is it called? Phishing?
Yes.
Phishing.
Yes.
Phishing. So protect yourself right there. Don't even fall for it. And if you think something is wrong, go to the bank. Don't call. Just go to the bank and walk in and say, I just got this email and it said that. Is there a security alert on my account? And go that route. So I think some of those basic common sense things we have to be aware of more, because the internet, things are flying so fast we can't keep up with them. And just as quick as there's a good program, there's a good scam coming right behind it.
So true. Yes.
And even saving on like the prescription
yes.
drugs and things like that. I mean, are you seeing things like that as well?
Absolutely.
They're scamming for that.
Yes, every time there's a new program, there's a scam that follows immediately. So, for example, last year there were $250 reimbursements to people who had entered the coverage gap, or what they call it, the donut hole in the Medicare prescription drug program. And people started calling, scammers started calling people saying, I can help you with the application for the $250. So please give me your Medicare number. And of course, a Medicare number is essentially the same thing as a Social Security number for most people. And they were, the problem, or the no application was needed to get that $250. Medicare would know when you had reached that point and would start the process of eventually you're getting a check. But that was that's a real good example of the kind of scams that come along every time there's a new program. And
Is
we've
that the
seen other
local
things like that.
counties or the counties all have some type of prescription discount program
Well,
from
actually,
the counties?
there may be some at the county level. I'm not actually aware of those right
I've seen
now.
brochures on them at the social services offices.
Oh, okay.
Albemarle, Fluvanna, and I've seen them at Nelson. And you can take it to the pharmacy and it's like 10% off or something.
I don't know about that one. I'm glad I'll look into it.
Yeah,
What
that's
I
fine,
most-
but it's at the county. They were actually distributed at one meeting. Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
What are some other scams that people might get in the mail or at their door or on the phone?
In the mail. Now, you know. I have worked with finance for quite a few years, so I know to look at watermarks and to inspect the check and make sure it's legitimate or not. Last year, twice, once was near Christmas, I got this check in the mail for almost $5,000. Now, around Christmas time, who do not want $5,000, right?
I would love to have $5,000.
And I looked, it was from HSBC. Everything looked so legitimate, and I just knew it wasn't. But then on the off chance
But what made
that
you know it
was,
wasn't? Why did you think it wasn't?
Okay, I did a little investigating. The postmark on the check was a different state than the check state. And the phone number included, I went on the web, and the phone number was not a landline, it was a mobile phone number.
Okay.
Nothing matched up.
Okay.
So
things not matching up.
Exactly.
That's giving you red flags.
that and the information inside the instructions. I was supposed to spend like $100 at Walmart to test how the customer service was at Walmart and the cleanliness of the store and all of that. And then I was supposed to send them back the majority of the money, because this would be testing the Western Union system or whatever system I decided to use to send the money back to them. So I deposited the check, but I was not by any means going to withdraw any of it. And checks clear pretty fast now, so I was going to wait a week, even though I was supposed to take care of this like within 3 days. So right about the 5th day, I get a call from the gentleman in the information, the instructions. He wanted to know if I had received the paperwork and if I had done what I was supposed to do and all of that. And I said, well, I got the information and I deposited the check, but I'm just waiting for it to clear before I do anything. Well, he said, well, we're going to have some more jobs coming out, and if you go ahead and take care of this as soon as you can, then you'll be top on the list and the other jobs are going to pay you more money. So I said, okay. So I went over to the bank. I was by no means going to withdraw that money, but I had a feeling that by then the check should have cleared. And it had. I'm sitting there at the bank manager's desk, and she tells me, you know that check you deposited? It came back today. I said, it did. I said, well, you know, I had
Came back as an insufficient fund?
insufficient return, right.
Okay.
And now see, had I withdrawn the money, I would still be liable to the bank for that money plus for fee.
Yes.
But I didn't withdraw it, and I just told, I said, well, you know, I had a feeling it was not legitimate. That's why I didn't touch it. So she gave me the state police department's contact information, and I actually went and visited with them and gave them a copy of everything. But, excuse me, in the meantime, I went back home and I called the same number where the gentleman had called me from. And I told him, I said, you know what, I went over to the bank to get that money, but the check came back. I said, do you have any idea why that would have happened? He was like, really? He said, I don't know. He said, let me talk to my supervisor and I'll get back to you. I said, okay. So didn't hear back from him that day. The next day I decided to dial that number. you.
Disconnected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Lindell is
that-
on my tail.
I think the real tip here is not even to deposit the check.
It's best just not
If
to.
any checks come in the mail that's not coming from someone you know, it's supposed to come from, that you actually did earn it, cut it up, throw it away.
Definitely.
Do not sign it. And typically there's a disclosure at the bottom of those when you sign them that there's other criteria or things that you have to do in order to get that money. And it's a little fine print. So, and I think what you said also towards the end was key is to report it.
Yes.
Or even if it comes to you, report it. If somebody's trying to hack into your bank account, you need to report it. You call the police department, you know, there's a line, there's a loanscamalert.org where you can fill it out. Now, Piedmont Housing Alliance, as far as mortgage loans, and if people have been in deceptive practices, they can come to one of our housing counselors and we complete the form and upload it for them. And, you know, if they need assistance in doing that, and it's called loanscamalert.org. And so that's a great website to go to. And because if people don't start reporting these scams, they're not going to stop.
That's right.
You know, and so another tip, don't fall for the check coming in the mail. Lindell.
I know, but see, I didn't
Because they
withdraw the
look
money.
so real,
They do.
but it could have been very disastrous for you. That could have been money that you would now be owing the bank. And so we don't, you know, we definitely want the consumer to have those red flags. If you didn't do anything for it, and then they're asking you to do it, or they're asking you to pay some money, it's not good. Not good. It's not legit.
And my bank told me later that there were quite a few other people
In the yeah.
belonged to the same bank that had happened to. Right, it was this area was being targeted.
It was targeted, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing I'm interested in is what are some services that you find seniors pay for when they don't necessarily need to pay for them? And you know, I'm thinking, for
they
instance,
get dressed up.
one of the scams that came out when the government had the home modification program
Yes.
was that we would be getting things on the fax with very official-looking government seals. So it looked to anyone like that would be the official government program, but then they had to pay for foreclosure counseling, and you should never have to pay for that. There are certified housing counseling agencies that will give that information for free. So I want to try to identify some of those things that if people need certain services and they're free, that they shouldn't be paying for them.
You know,
No
my best
modification.
advice to everyone, doesn't matter your age, go look to the local official companies. You know Jaba's there, okay? So if anybody else other than a name associated with something with your Medicare, this, that, and other, or the Department of Social Services, go to the legit companies. If it comes in with, we're going to buy your house, or we're going to stop that foreclosure, or we're going to reduce your, you know, prescription expenses by 50%, you need to think twice, because that's not real. It's not real. Go to the social services, go to JABA, you know, go to Piedmont Housing Alliance. MACA has, MACA's an organization out there also. So people just have to be more alert to say, well, wait a minute, my check comes from here, you know, who is this company? There's not anything out there that is going to make all these beautiful things happen.
True. And
You know,
tax preparation was the other thing I was thinking
Tax
as well.
preparation, absolutely.
What's available for seniors? Do they have to pay?
Income is less than $49,000 during tax season. I know Senior Center has tax preparers there that will prepare their taxes for free.
That's
Yeah.
an AARP-sponsored program.
Yeah, under the earned income, and we have a coalition for the Thomas Jefferson area earned income tax credit coalition. The Senior Center provide free tax assistance for people that met the criteria. The UVA Bank was available, and and it's up until April 18th, and Friendship Court Community Center, downtown Charlottesville, And then there was UVA, Human Resources at the university, and there was other various places. You can go to United Way's website and get the locations, because there's still a couple more days for the tax preparation. But that's another form of scamming that comes with tax preparation, is to get you to get your refund right then, an instant refund or a rapid refund or rapid anticipation loan type thing. So if you've got $500 or $1,000 coming to you, wait the week to 10 days to get it. Don't pay $300, because now you just gave away $300 of your money that could have went towards your budgeting to help pay for your monthly prescriptions, or to, pay for your groceries, or maybe it just needs to go in savings and you don't touch it. So there's other, call these agencies that are in place. They've been around in the community a long time. Before, I would say before you do anything, if you have any question, it probably needs to just go in the trash. If you got a question, put it in the trash, because obviously you didn't need it, and it's probably not legit. So I would say stick with the known names. There's a lot of community resources in the Thomas Jefferson Planning District, and I think that's the easiest way, is to pick up that phone and say, hey Sally, hey Lindell, hey Shelley, I just got this thing in the mail. Do you think this is legit? Especially if it's asking for money. And we're going to say trash it. 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you, we're going to say throw it away. You probably need to come in here. You're having some trouble, or whatever. So yeah, and I think the prescription things are really getting hit right now. Even with, I get them from other countries.
Really?
I'm getting emails from Canada about low-end prescriptions, and it's like, how do you know I take that prescription?
Oh my goodness.
How do they know that?
How do they know? But we see people with all kinds of things like that.
A lot with Canada, a lot coming with reduced cost.
Right.
And I thought, okay, you know what? I don't even live there. So again, delete. I don't want to go there. Get the chance. Been there once. Don't want to go there again. And it costs me money.
I always get a good laugh when I go out to some of our rural senior centers where a lot of people rely on wood stoves. Yes. And I tell them to use that stuff to start their wood stove, and they just really enjoy that. Yeah. They can relate to that.
And I do think that Medicare and things like that is a really big issue. The prescription, the cost right now is tremendous.
Right.
And I want people to get out their paper and pen now, because we're going to finish the show with 2 topics. The first is going to be tips for people, how to save money. We're going to talk about how to save the money that people have worked very hard to earn. And we also want to talk about healthcare costs.
Okay.
So Sally, can you tell us a little bit about the work you do?
Okay. We advise people, have one-on-one counseling sessions, and also do quite a number of community presentations about how Medicare works. I do a session called Getting Started in Medicare that's usually held at the Northside Library. There's one scheduled for April 29th at 10:30. And then I'll be away in May, but I'll be starting that series up again in June. And that's one thing. And of course, the one-on-one counseling. The biggest thing that we probably do in the course of the year is the Medicare Part D open enrollment. And that's going to be October 15th to December 7th. And that's a change in time from last year. It used to start on November 15th and run right through Christmas, which was always a problem. But now it's moved up to October 15th to December 7th. And we help people by appointment. They have to call our 800 or our main desk number, which is 817-5222, and get an appointment. And we will start taking appointments for that October 1st. And so I'll be getting that information. Our office will be getting that information out to people, a month or so ahead of time about that. The Medicare Part D program is a program that's available to anyone who has Medicare, and that's anyone who is 65 and older. And not covered by an employer plan still at that point, or people who have had Medicare because they've had disability income for at least 2 years. And the way it works is that there is typically a premium. It's a little insurance plan for prescriptions. And there's a premium and a monthly premium that you pay, and then you get discounts on your prescription drugs. Now, there has been something called the coverage gap or donut hole that most people who've been around this program, either themselves or family members, know about the fact that at some point what Medicare puts in toward the cost of your drugs runs out. Medicare puts in a little over $1,800 toward the cost of your drugs if you take a lot of drugs. It's a prorated kind of thing. But if you reach a certain point, then up until this year, your discounts have stopped because you've used up Medicare's contribution.
Is that a monthly limit?
It's an annual limit.
Annual.
The 1,800 is annual.
Right.
Okay.
And so if you start at the beginning of the year, and by the time you've spent maybe about $800 or $900 on your medicine, you've used up Medicare's $1,850. And so at that point, you started to have to pay the full cost, and that hit a lot of people really hard.
Oh, yeah.
You know, talk about something that blows the budget.
Yes.
Now, and over the next 9 years, that will gradually be phased out so that people will have the same coverage that they can count on paying, that they'll pay 25 or 30% of the drug cost for the whole year and not have that coverage gap. And so that's one improvement. That came out of the Affordable Care Act that was passed last March. So that's one of the improvements for seniors that came out of that plan. Now, for people who have limited incomes, there is something called Extra Help with the Medicare Part D program. And the way it works is that you can, if your income as a single person is no more than $1,361 a month, and we're going to have that put up on the screen, so you don't have to remember me saying it, you just copy it down when you see it on the screen. And if you have limited resources, like limited life insurance that you can get cash value for, or limited savings, the maximum that you can have is $12,600 and something. And that number is also going to be put on the screen. And if your income is within those income and assets are within those limits, you can qualify for what's called Extra Help with the Part D plan, and that really lowers your. It may mean that you don't have to pay any premium at all, or just a very small premium monthly to be in the plan, and then your drugs are discounted much more deeply than what is available to the general public. So it's a really good program, and of course that's what it's available to people to upgrade or improve their programs, review their plans once a year, and that's why we have that open enrollment from October 15th to December 7th.
And when you do appointments, do you sit down with someone and you say, do they share with you, okay, here are my prescription costs, and
here
you
are the
show
drugs
them
I take.
How they could save?
Well, what we do is use a piece of software that's on the Medicare website. It's called the Drug Plan Finder, and we put in the names of their drugs, and then the software will show what is the lowest cost plan for the list of drugs this particular person takes.
Great.
So it's better not to just pick a plan on the basis of name recognition like Cigna or Aetna or AARP or Humana. You really need to look at what your particular list of drugs, which plan fits best with your list of drugs, gives you the deepest discounts.
Does that include generic drugs?
Oh, yes.
Okay, automatically, because I find a lot of people don't ask if there's a generic drug for what they're taking, and I'm just wondering if that comes up in your discussion.
Oh, yes. And of course, the plans and Medicare want to see people use generics as much as possible because that saves the individual and Medicare money.
Oh, wonderful.
So for healthcare costs, so you can help people analyze what the best plan is for them. Another way to save is generic drugs. What are some other tips for people for healthcare cost savings?
Well, for healthcare costs, in addition to just their prescription costs, but their medical costs and hospital costs, some people may be eligible for Medicaid and not know it. So that's important to contact either JABA or the Department of Social Services in the community where they live to find out if they might be eligible for either full Medicaid or there's a limited kind of Medicaid called Medicare Savings Programs. And those plans, typically, some of them might pay for co-payments for medical care, or they might even pay the premium to be in Medicare Part B, the medical side of Medicare. Because people who are above certain income levels have to pay over $100 a month to be in Medicare Part B. to see doctors and have their medical care covered by Medicare. But there is a program through Medicaid where they can have their premiums, that $100 or thereabouts, paid for actually by the state. And so that's a big savings. So
this can get complicated.
Oh, it's really complicated.
But there are a lot of ways. There are a lot of ways to save a lot of money that people might not know about.
Exactly.
So they should call you.
Right. And if a person is concerned for another family member, a mother or an older sister or father or mother-in-law or somebody, we're very happy to talk with those representatives and explain things to them, just like you were doing with your counseling program of making sure that when it's a complicated topic, there are
They
at
bring
least
someone with them.
Bring someone with them,
Absolutely.
or to do the research on behalf of the much older person who might not
That's actually how
understand.
I met Sally.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
And Sally, you had another number. Did you have another phone number you wanted to share?
Yeah, the number that goes directly to what's called VICAP, which is our insurance counseling program, is 817-5248.
Great. Thank
And that
you.
comes directly to our desk, but you can also go through JAVA's main number.
Thank you. And this is going to be speed tips on budgeting and savings and discounts. Shelley and Lindell, what are some tips that you can give people?
Angel Food Ministries.
Tell us about it.
Excuse me. Angel Food Ministries is most of the time churches are the ones that are participating in this, but it is wonderful. You get restaurant quality food for, like, for instance, you could get a fresh fruit and vegetable box for like $41, and there's enough food in there to feed one person probably for a month, or two people for a couple of weeks. It's broken down. Some people are big meat eaters, so it's broken down in categories, so you can choose whatever you want. But you get to order once a month, and you can actually order as much as you want. You pick it up the following Saturday. If you're on SNAP, the Food Assistance Program, you can actually use your debit card to order your food.
Great.
If you're not, you can use your regular Visa or debit card. You can do it online. If you're on SNAP, you have to actually go to the site to order.
We'll
What
put up
about-
the website on Angel Ministries.
What about discounts anywhere? Discounts, coupons, savings programs targeted for seniors. What are some things people can take advantage of?
Couponing is always nice. Some people don't like to cut out coupons, but it can really save you some money.
So would you suggest maybe doing it with someone that would share for the people that don't like to sit and just cut, maybe partner with your neighbor, another family member or something like that?
Yes, definitely.
You know, that might help. And also on the Angel Food Ministries, if it's too much for them, depending on what box they're doing, look at maybe splitting it with someone, which will help reduce costs in both of these households.
Exactly.
So one of my tips would be is to just understand what's coming in and what has to go out. Just get that piece of paper. And for people to be more aware of what's happening financially within their house. And what they're doing, the biggest thing would be track your spending for 30 days, every penny that you're spending, and then sit back and look at it. And you could do it with Lindell or I. And then you'll really see what you're spending your money on. And if it's what you need to be spending your money on. Because if you don't have anything in savings, that means you're spending some money somewhere you don't need to.
And you know, a few years ago, what started me brown bagging it, you know, taking leftovers or sandwiches or whatever, I used to eat out for lunch. And then one day I said, let me see how much money I could save this week if I didn't. Do you know I saved $50 by not eating out lunch? So from then on, because you think that's in 1 week times 52, that
That's a lot
adds
of money.
up.
That's
so
a lot.
I read to eat out is it's like a treat.
Do
Like
Like
grocery
on
stores have
Tuesdays at
those
the grocery
programs?
stores, I know Kroger, Food Lion, they all have them.
You just have
Even
to-
the pet food stores have
At the pet
Tuesdays.
food, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Is that Tuesday across the
Roses.
board, or should people look into
They should look into it
they
for the
should look into
But
it.
Tuesday's a common.
But all your grocery stores all have senior days, you know, and it might also be department stores. It's not necessarily, or you know, hotels or things like that. There's senior discounts. A lot of places. I love using my senior discount, my AARP card. I mean, you know, I figure I earned it.
Good.
That's my savings. So.
We have 2 minutes left, and I'd like each of you to give your number one tip and a resource that you want to make sure that people check out.
I'll go first since they're thinking. Number one tip is to make that telephone call. If you don't have a handle on your money, make that telephone call, make that appointment to sit with one of the counselors, either at Java or Piedmont Housing Alliance or at MAC or whatever is closest to you, to get a handle on what's happening financially in your house.
Well, I would have to agree. Call me, 817-5254.
Absolutely.
And number one tip, do not discard credit card offers that come in the mail, because you're opening yourself up for possibility of identity theft. Someone else can get that
You need to shred
information, shred it, burn it,
Yes.
destroy it. Someone else will be out there with credit
Yeah.
cards in your name.
I think in the area of Medicare fraud or abuse or misbilling kinds of things, there's some important things people can do if they are getting any kind of home health care, either from themselves or they're supervising a situation where, say, an elderly parent's getting home health care. Be sure to really read the little receipt that's left by the nurse or the aide who comes to the home, and be sure that they're billing for the correct number of hours and that they're billing for the right kind of service. Sometimes there have been organizations that say they sent a nurse, but they really sent an aide, and of course the billing will
tips.
be and
Thank
then,
you all. Thank you so much. This concludes our session on budgeting for seniors, and we hope you've learned a lot. I sure have. Thank you to all our guests for the time and the work that you do in the community. PHA will be continuing the series of discussions, Building Dreams, Creating Wealth, and all of our sessions will be aired on Charlottesville Public Access Television, Comcast Channel 13, Tuesdays at 3 p.m. and Thursdays at 9 p.m., live streaming at cpatv.org. And if you have any suggestions or comments for shows, please email info@piedmonthousing.org or call 817-2436. Thank you for watching.
I'm coming home now. I'm sorry I went away. Every night and day I miss you. I'm coming home, baby, now. Can't hold me back, no. Right. I'm pressing on, baby, now. I wanna feel you hold me tight. When I'm in your arms, I'll be high. I'm coming home. I'm coming home now, yeah, yeah, yeah. The road is long, baby, now. Let me hear you say, and I never will go away. Yeah, no, I'm here to stay. I'm coming home, baby, now. Can't hold me back, no, right. I'm pressing on, baby, now.